guys, it's Thursday and I'm so excited because Thursday is right next to Friday and I love Fridays. So Thursdays, I feel like I heard somebody say like it was like a pre-Friday, and that's how I take it. I take Thursdays as pre-Fridays. So I am hyped and I am on my way to work again. I hardly ever get ready to go to work, like for real. Yesterday, I was like all dolled up and whatever with my face completely done, but that is because, you know, Fidel came back from working out of town. He had been gone for a couple days, so I hadn't seen him, so I wanted to look, you know, decent when he saw me. But on the real, y'all know, like, I might dress up sometimes, but I hardly ever do my makeup to work. I'm usually just either barefaced or just like this. So, and with my buns, I stay on buns or ponytails or whatever. So yeah, and usually Thursdays I go semi-casual, and then Fridays it's t-shirt day at work every Friday. So on Fridays I literally just wear t-shirt and jeans or whatever. So basically I only dress up, if anything, like Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So like 3 days. So this is how y'all most likely see me out, because this is how I stay looking like this 24/8. So but yeah, I know I already uploaded a video yesterday, and you know, that was kind of just to let y'all know that I was going to start making videos. I think I'm gonna start making like videos even if it's here in the car, because I don't know, I feel like I hardly ever have time really to make videos, and then once I get home it's already dark. But during summertime I feel like I will have more time, and because the day will seem longer and there will be sunlight longer, maybe I could do videos in the summer, which will be better because of the lighting and everything. I feel like it will look better, or I don't know. But anyways, who cares? The point is I wanted to make another video just because I found it really easy to make one yesterday in the car, simply because it's a long drive to work, and so I have a couple minutes to like talk and stuff. So I decided I would go ahead and make this first video, and you will be able to tell what it's about. Bless you, baby. You will be able to tell what it's going to be about by the title of the video, obviously, so you kind of already know what's going on. But let me go ahead and get started with that. So let me tell y'all, I'm still creeped out by the fact that somebody was in our apartment while we were gone. Okay. It was weird because that had never happened before, like ever. I don't understand how or what happened, or how, you know, I just have so many questions, you know, unanswered questions. But let me go ahead and tell y'all how this happened. So I think it was for New Year's. It was for New Year's. What? My brother, he was playing soccer out of state or whatever. He played in Florida. So we planned a little, well, we really didn't plan it, but he had told us that he was going to play soccer over there. So we kind of had it in mind. We were like, okay, if we can go, we'll go and whatever. So the day before we left, we literally just said, okay, let's just go. So we booked a hotel. We, you know, we got our stuff ready for the next day or whatever. And then that day we literally just got up, got ready, and left the house. And we've left the house before, and there's a lot of times where we come home really late. So I don't know, it's just so weird. It's like, I don't know, I just don't understand how the person that went in there knew that we were gonna be gone for a while. I don't know. But anyway, so we left, right? We locked the door, we left, didn't think nothing of it. But I do gotta admit that when I was leaving, I did for some reason have, you know, when you get this like feeling in the back of your mind, kind of knows what's gonna happen or something. I don't know, I get that sometimes. And well, I got this feeling when I closed the door. I was like, I feel like somebody's gonna come in here. And then, but what I thought at the moment, I was like, okay, maybe the landlord might come, because sometimes they go like to change stuff, like the filter, the air filter, or the what's it called, I don't know what you call those people, but they go sometimes once in a while to spray the house for insects and stuff, so you know they won't come in or whatever. Anyway, so they do that sometimes. So for some reason, when that thought came to my head that somebody might come into our home, I just automatically blocked the thought, and I was like, okay, yeah, somebody might come, you know, because the landlord can't come and whoever else could come change, whatever. So I was like, okay. So I just left it at that. And so we left, you know, we went to Florida. We stayed over there for, I think, 2 nights. And then we got home that on the 3rd day at night about, I want to say like 10 or whatever. So, oh my God, I gotta tell y'all, like, we drove up to our apartment, and as soon as we drove up, oh my God, I just knew somebody had been in my house. And the reason for that is that as soon as we drove up, you know, the lights hit the window, and the what do you call those things? The little las cortinas or whatever, not the cortinas, what are those called? I don't even know. The word just left my mind right now. But the blinds, there we go. I guess that's what they call them, the blinds. Anyway, so they were like open, but not open completely. Like it was like a space. Like if somebody, you know, when somebody like peeks through them, like they stay like opened a little bit. Like let's say, hold on, because I'm turning, I can't do it. Okay, let's say you're wanting to peek through the window, so you go like this, and then you peek through. Okay, that's how they were. They were like that, and only a space. So I knew we don't do that, because we had the Christmas tree in front of the window, and nobody gets to the window, and nobody messes with it. Like Kenneth is so good with not getting into things, and he doesn't do that, and I didn't obviously do that, and Fidel, I know he wouldn't do that. And plus it was on the lower part, on the lower side, so I don't know, it was just so weird. I knew somebody had been in there, so I told Fidel, I'm like, oh my gosh, why is the window like that? And then he's like, what do you mean? And then I'm like, Fidel, that's not right, like that's odd, like something's up. And he's like, yeah, I feel it too. And I'm like, yes, like somebody must have been in there. Like we never leave the windows like that. That never had happened. What is up? And he's like, I don't know, let me go. And I'm like, oh my God, that is so scary. What if somebody's in there? Like, no, don't go. And then he was like, well, I have to go check. So I was like, oh my Lord. So as soon as he was like opening the door, and he literally just had walked in, when out of nowhere my neighbor comes out of his house, and like I was in the car, but it was dark, right? So he didn't know I was watching him, but I was in the car. And then I was like watching him. I was like, what is he doing? Because like he was getting close to the door of my house, and he was like kind of like trying to look through. And then but he just looked a little bit, and then he was like, but he looked like he had just woken up or something. He was like startled, and he was like looking around and stuff, and I was like, what's going on, you know? So I was like, what is he doing? Like that scared me, because I mean we get along with him, he's really nice, he's a nice guy. And so it just like he's an older man, and yeah, so I just found that out. I was like, what is he doing? And then I turned on the lights from the car, and he saw me, and so he came towards me, and I was like, oh my God, yeah, somebody's been in our house, and he's fixing to tell me. I know it. I like, my heart was pounding, and I knew, and I was like, oh God, please don't please. I was so scared that they had taken our stuff, you know? So I was like, oh my gosh, please don't tell me that they took our stuff. Please don't tell me they took our, you know, our what's it called, our TV, or you know, our TVs, because we actually got another one. So we're like, oh my gosh, like no. And like our furniture, you know, they might take that too. So I was like, no. And so Fidel was still in there. He was taking forever too. So then he came towards the car, and then he was like, hey. And I was like, yeah, what happened? And he's like, have y'all been here these past days? And I was like, no, we actually haven't. And he's like, you know somebody's been in your house? And I was like, no way, like really? He's like, yeah, somebody was in your house. I never got to see who, I never got to see what or how they got in. I work, I'm hardly home, you know, I come till late and whatever. And I'm like, oh my God, don't tell me that, are you serious? He's like, yep. Oh my God, let me tell y'all that I just came the wrong way. I was supposed to go somewhere else today. FML. Anyways, good thing I came early, because I usually come like running late, and if I would have done that when I was running late, it would have been bad. Anyways, I'm sorry. So he's telling me this, and he's like, yeah, somebody came in here, and I'm sure because your door had been wide open for a couple of hours, for twice. I'm like, twice? And he's like, yeah, one day it was completely open when I came from work, and then it was like, I peeked in there and I said, hello, anybody in here? Nobody answered, so I assumed, you know, like, okay, maybe they wanted to leave it open. He's like, I thought, you know, maybe, because sometimes he was telling me a story. He was like, one time I burnt something and I left the door open, so I thought, okay, maybe they're letting it air out or something. So I ignored it, and I just kind of like left it halfway open. Not halfway open, but I mean almost shut. So anyway, you know, so then I was like, okay, and then what happened? And then he's like, well, then I left for like 2 hours, and I came back and I saw that it was still like that. So I was like, okay, they're apparently not home, because I know they would have closed it by now. It's been a long time. So he said he like looked in there and said, hello, anybody in here? And then nobody answered, so he just shut the door. And he said he like locked it from inside, and he closed it. And so he said he went home or whatever, didn't think much of it anymore. And then he said the next day he went to work again. And so when he came back, he said the same thing had happened. Like somebody, like the door was completely open, like wide open. So at that point I was like, are you serious? Why would they go like twice? He's like, I don't know, but yeah, somebody's been in your house. I didn't want to call the cops or anything, because I wasn't sure, you know, because I didn't see anyone, I didn't see anything. I didn't really hear noise, so I didn't want to like make a big deal, because I didn't know if maybe y'all were doing that. And I was like, no, we would never do that. And he's like, okay, well, you might want to tell somebody if something's missing or whatever, you know. And I was like, oh my gosh. So at that point I was like, okay, we're screwed. Like, they took her stuff. I was like, okay, Fidel's not wanting to come out, I'm sure, because he found something gone or whatever, and he's probably over there trying to see what's going on. I'm like, oh my God. So at that point I was just so disappointed, and I was like, oh my gosh. And so we stood there for a second. He was telling me, you know, you should really go tell somebody, this and that. And so then at that point Fidel came out, and he was staring at him, and then he was like kind of serious, and then he came up to him and he's like, hey, and then he told him the same thing, you know. And then Fizel was like, yeah, I can tell somebody was in there. And then I was like, oh God, did they take anything? Like, that was I guess that was my worst fear. And I was like, did they take anything? And then he's like, no, they didn't actually. I'm like, really? I'm like, let me see. So I actually got out of the car. I'm like, is there anybody in there? And he's like, no. And so I was like, okay, let me go in there. So I went in there. And as soon as I went in there, y'all, I knew that somebody had been in there. Like, I don't know why, I don't know for what, because they didn't take anything at all. Like, they literally just went in there, I don't know for what, and got out. Like, they got out. And I mean, it was a cold, those few days were super, super cold. So I told Fidel, I'm like, what if it was just somebody looking for a place to stay and they like just stayed there and left or something? And I'm like, but that's weird, because okay, so I walked in, And like the living room was already kind of messy because the night before, you know, we were already like packing and stuff, and everything was scattered. So I mean, for that, I didn't pay much mind to that. But then I walked into the kitchen, and the kitchen was completely clean, y'all, because before I left, I cleaned the kitchen to the point where it was like spotless, because I feel like kitchens need to always stay clean, in case, especially if you're going on a trip, because you know you don't want it to smell like food or anything like that. But anyway, so it was clean, and as soon as I walked in there, there's a little small counter part on the window where you can like place things, you know, place things on. And for some reason, everything that was on the top of that little counter was all over the floor and all over the countertop. Like everything was falling, and like oil, I had like a little cup with oil that, you know, because they say not to throw away the oil in the sink or whatever, so I put it in this little cup, and then I'll throw it outside or whatever I need to do with it. So anyway, I had that, and it was like, if it was all over my counter, and I was like, what the heck, like why would they do this? And I'm assuming because the blinds in the kitchen, they were also open, like if somebody was peeking through the window, but really obvious, like it was like a big space like this, like if somebody was out there looking like that. And then in the living room, which is across, they each have a window, so it to me it looked like there was either one person going back and forth looking, or there was two people in there, and one of them looked at that one, you know, and maybe they were looking for something and they didn't find it. I don't know, I really don't know. But I knew for a fact somebody got in there, so I told Fidel, I'm like, no, like somebody was in our house. They obviously knew that we weren't here, and they were like, you know, making sure nobody came or whatever. I'm like, they just apparently didn't find what they needed. I mean, because we really don't have much like stuff, just because we do rent, and I've always been the type to not want to build up a bunch of stuff, because I know we're gonna keep moving, because we have moved for so long, like we kept moving, and like I really don't like to pile things up. So I'm waiting to finally get a house so we can buy everything we actually want and need or whatever. So we really don't have much, but I mean, there is things they could have taken and they didn't, so apparently they were looking for something specific, I don't know. So the point is, they didn't take anything, but they were in there. So I told Fidel, I'm like, you know what, I'm calling the cops. Like, I do not care, I'm calling the cops, and I'm gonna make a report, because if they happen to come in again, or if somebody comes in here and hurts us, at least they know that something had been going on. So he was like, are you sure you want to call the cops? I'm like, yeah, I want to call the cops, so I'm gonna call the cops. So I called the cops, and they came over, and they made a report on it, and I told them everything, you know, detail by detail, just like I told y'all the story and whatever. So they started thinking like, okay, does anybody else have a key? And I'm like, well, I mean, the landlord, and maybe I think the people that they hired to do things have a key, but I mean, this has never happened before. But they're like, okay, we'll take that into consideration. And then they're like, okay, what about another person, like a family member? Have you ever made copies of your keys for someone or whatever? I'm like, no, nobody does, like, you know. So at that point they were like, okay, that's weird. They're like, but I can tell, I mean, just by looking at the windows, that somebody was like looking. I'm like, exactly, that's what I thought. And he's like, yeah, do you think the door could just open easily? And I'm like, I don't know, I really don't know. I'm like, and then so they tested the door and everything or whatever, and this and that, and then it didn't seem like it could be open like that or whatever. So it's like, that was odd, you know. So at this point they finally said, okay, I do think somebody might have been in your house, y'all need to be careful, blah blah blah. And then they said they were going to talk to my neighbor, because he was like kind of like a witness, you know, of the door being open or whatever. So they went to talk to him. I don't know what he told them, I don't know what they said, I don't know what they talked, because I didn't go over there. Like, they went to his house and talked to him. So, but after that, like, they left. So, and I've never heard anything back from them or whatever. I mean, there was nothing missing, so there's really nothing they had to look for. So at this point, all they said is like, if you ever find anything missing or whatever, just let us know so we can like put that into the report. I'm like, okay. But till this point, oh my god, I got really big chills right now. Okay, so at this point, it's been months. I haven't noticed anything missing, honestly, but I'm still with that thought of, oh my god, there's a big dog. I'm still with the thought of why, who, when, where, how, you know, like, especially who. Like, I really wonder who. And so I posted that day on my Snapchat what was going on and everything, and then like my brother, he was like, well, that's what you get for posting everything you're doing. And I'm like, true. I mean, in a way it could be somebody that follows me, but I honestly trust that the people I have on my Snapchat wouldn't do that, because I honestly don't have anybody. I only have girls on my Snapchat. I only add girls on my Snapchat. And then if I have any guys, it's just my family, like guy cousins or my brother and stuff. So I don't know, I just feel like it wasn't people from my followers or anything. So I don't know, it's so weird. But anyways, that was a little story time. So I guess this will be my first actual video. But yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed that story, and I am at my destination, so I will see you guys later.